All right, what's up, kid?
What up, dude? Hey, how's 4-0 sound?
Sweep.
How
That
sweet it is.
ugh, that is it. Um, I mean,
See you to Brooklyn. Thanks for playing, I guess.
thanks,
I mean,
guys.
yeah, it was real. It was
That
fun.
was fun. You
More than
know,
real fun.
we'll spend time talking about, was Brooklyn ever for real? Was this series closer than the 4-0 would lead you to believe? Did the Celtics end this franchise forever? I mean, from a Celtics perspective, the story is going to be great. Survive in advance. You
Trash
made it.
franchise.
Yeah, you made it. You made it around without Rob. Great news. Into a round two matchup against maybe um, uh, a Bucks team that's hobbled or a Bulls team that you think you would destroy, which would be great. It's going to be the Bucks. Chicago's such a poser team. So we'll preview that a little bit because it's looking more likely than not it's going to be Milwaukee. How you think the Celtics look, kind of leading into it, which is all fun to talk about. But that's the Celtics perspective. On a national perspective, it really is the collapse of the Nets, which is super interesting and intriguing. I don't know how much Celtics fans want to hear about it. It's just fascinating to me that this team went this way, and just so kind of like helplessly, hopelessly flailing along here and losing this game, and losing this series, and just watching Kyrie just do nothing after game one, and then just dap everybody at the end and hug them like, I love
Did you freeze on me?
in his post game.
Did you freeze on me, dude? Because I can't.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm back. You got me?
Back. Yeah, I think you're back now. I want to say this, John. A
Well,
lot of
real quick, what I was saying when I got locked up, over under and how many times Kyrie Irving says the word journey in his post game tonight.
7.5.
It's
Yeah.
just part of my journey. It's the journey.
Yeah.
It's all about the journey.
Yeah, well, they're all going to be taking a journey to, a beach somewhere because I think that was the mentality for a lot of these guys going in. Credit to Blake Griffin. I thought he kind of kept the team, engaged as best as he could. And Kevin Durant obviously looked more like Kevin Durant tonight than he had all series. But that being said, they locked him up when they needed to most. Shout out Grant Williams, provided some solid, very solid defense on KD when Tatum couldn't be in there at all times. And Celtics, listen, it wasn't a pretty game from the Celtics from start to finish. They played kind of sloppy in the first half, but they still maintained the lead throughout. They're just a tough. They're just a tough out right now. Like the Celtics, even when they're not on their game, they're just they're tough to score and they make every possession difficult for you. I mean, you two of the greatest scorers in the league made it very, very hard on them each and every game. I know Kyrie Irving had that really hot, one quarter of basketball where Kyrie Irving really had in fourth quarter of game one. They still lost, and by and large, it was pretty quiet, pretty non-existent the rest of the way. I mean, there's questions on that entire roster from Durant on down. Claxton might be. Oh my God, there you go. I like that. Oh wow, there's Simmons.
Yeah.
He's standing. Okay,
He's hanging out. Yeah.
he's hanging out with the crew.
He was able to pose for this picture.
Yeah, of course.
Even with the bad back. So
Man, that's a great pick.
credit to Ben for being able to pose for this one before the team parts
Yeah.
parts ways and heads out for the rest of the offseason. But yeah,
How many of these
I
guys
mean,
are we going to see on the team
people
next year? I want to know.
people will joke about that. It wasn't a 1-2-3 Cancun effort. They played hard. They actually outplayed the they outplayed the Celtics in effort in the first half, I think, in terms of like 50-50 balls and hustle plays and this and that. I thought the Celtics were okay, and they still had an 8-point lead. And if you're Brooklyn, you had to feel pretty shitty about that.
Totally. I think that just kind of like took the wind out of their sails there where they were, Durant was actually taking shots tonight as opposed to game three. It was obvious that was that was his intention to get going early. And to his credit, he was their go-to guy. It just wasn't enough. I mean, the Celtics just kept coming by with other guys. I thought, they got some huge shots from Grant Williams tonight. When Tatum was in foul trouble, I think Jaylen Brown stepped up when he needed to. Marcus Smart had some big shots, just taking it to the hoop, being aggressive. They just got a nice, like, all hands on deck sort of second half, which was extremely necessary. And they deserved the sweep. I thought, even though Brooklyn made it interesting in a couple of those games, the Celtics were clearly the better team in this series. They looked like a 2 seed. And the Nets, to be honest, a lot of smoke, a lot of talk about the Nets pulling it together and being lethal, and some of it was coming from us. And I know there's a lot of people I'm seeing in the chats that are demanding something from one John Zannis. I won't say apology cam, but it sounds like that's what they are demanding.
For what?
I think maybe you were a little bit hesitant to pick the Celtics, although you did. It kind of came with the caveat. But I mean, I don't think it's
the Nets. The Nets. The Nets were the worst.
Admit that you were wrong about the Nets. I think
the Nets were the worst first round opponent for the Celtics, and the only team that they could have played that could have beaten them. I still think it now. So no, not apologizing. These other teams are garbage.
Okay.
These other teams are hot garbage. Give me a break with it. Okay, Chicago's down Middleton, and they just beat the Bulls by 30 points. I don't want to hear it. These other teams are garbage.
It's true. I mean, I still
garbage, and absolutely, and they won all of these games, but the games were close-ish. It's not like they freaking ran. Yeah, they didn't run them off the floor. So I stand by that. I just didn't. You expected the Nets were going to take a game or two, but I mean, give me a break.
Yeah. I did. I mean, listen, I picked the Celtics in 7, so I'm wrong in the
sense.
I
said 6. I said 6.
You said 6, but only if that happens.
I said 6.
Yeah, but you had the Celtics down 2-1 at one point in that prediction, so that's when you wish you probably could have taken.
I said 6. You said 7, but I'm the one who has to. I had more faith in the Celtics than you, but I have to apologize.
Yes and no, because it was it was the way you were talking up the Nets leading up to your prediction that came with an insurance plan. But that being said, it's water under the bridge at this point. We'll get him to apologize about something someday.
Yeah, I just have to be wrong, and once I'm wrong, I'll apologize.
It will be someday.
I just gotta. Eventually, yeah, I'll be wrong about something, and then I'll apologize.
Yeah, eventually you'll admit that you were wrong.
But
I don't know how you can pick against the Celtics. It doesn't matter to me whether it's Bucks, whether it's Bulls. You can't pick against this team right now. They're on one. They're playing their best basketball. They're healthy. Knock on wood. They're healthy. They're the team right now that's not having been getting bad injury news. And if you play a Bucks team without Middleton, Middleton's the Celtics killer. So without Middleton, I mean, I don't want to get too ahead of myself here. I'm just really not that concerned. I don't know how you can be that concerned about against a Bucks team that doesn't have their second best player and a guy that's killed you over the years. Tons of offense for that team. Is Giannis extremely difficult to cover? Yeah. And so is Kevin Durant. So I'm pretty confident in the Celtics team that they can figure it out. And again, we'll wait for that series to end. We're not going to start breaking down a series that didn't start yet, but just, I guess if you anything on this game specifically, John, that stood out to you.
What stands out to me is our new sponsor that I haven't had a chance to tell people about.
Okay, let's go to the sponsor. Yeah.
Is it showing on the screen yet?
It is not showing on the screen yet.
Hold on, let me get it up on the screen.
Drum roll, please.
I'm having Wi-Fi issues with our new sponsor.
Please.
Until I
think it is?
Until I see it, I'm not going to say anything.
Okay. Well, you really jumped the gun on the sponsor. Reed.
I did, but I didn't expect to be having
this whole thing out in the
such heavy Brockton Wi-Fi issues here. About the game, I'd say the whole game and the whole series definitely lacked flow. Right? You could never really get it going. I felt like last 2 games for sure, the Celtics had the Nets at arm's reach the whole time. Could have at any point in time put them away, but also responded to every single Nets mini run. So like to their credit, but so in a lot of cases it was maddening because you're like, just slam the door already. You get it up to 10, 11, 12. They did that multiple times each of the last 2 games, 15 last game, and they whittle it all the way down. But again, to their credit, when these runs would come, the Celtics would stop the bleeding in time, push it back up to 4, 6, 8, and give themselves enough breathing room. Tatum fouling out was a different dynamic because then it was like, okay, who's going to shoot here? And, you come out of the next timeout and Jaylen just dribbles it off his knee, and they were passing the ball around. Nobody wanted to shoot. So the first couple possessions were like, uh-oh. So you were
Yeah,
worried
they were scrambling a bit. They were playing the clock, it felt like, and
you were worried they couldn't close it when Tatum went out, and credit to them, they did. But yeah, it's hard to get a sense of it, because Tatum was both spectacular but like maddening at times tonight. Smart had an awesome game. White offensively had one of his better games, so we still just don't ever want to see him shoot a three again. Al was big. Rob looks totally out of sorts, but we'll talk about that, and we'll give it to him. There's rust issues. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of things to nitpick, but it's all bigger picture sort of stuff. How they're looking heading into round two right now. One thing, Jaylen Brown was saying something about hamstring issues popping up in the second half here. Something to keep an eye on. There's my sponsor. Do you see it?
Yeah, I was gonna try to lead into it by saying that Rob's gonna be able to get fresh now. He have some extra time to get himself where he needs to be.
We have a brand new sponsor on the Garden Report, and I think all of you out there have heard of HelloFresh before. Farm fresh, pre-proportioned ingredients, seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. America's #1 meal kit. So again, check this out. As we said, the vegetables and the produce and all of this stuff comes right to your door. It goes farm. Basically, I'm not going to say farm to table. It's farm to your table. It's
farm to
easy.
Mailbox.
Yeah, farm to doorstep. It's awesome. You can pick your favorites. There's 50 different weekly options, so you get a lot of variety. You'll never get bored of the stuff they have. It's really tremendous quality stuff. We're getting a batch. We're getting several batches delivered to the Garden Report people, so we'll give you all of our.
I might do a live cooking show on maybe.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll give you all of the goods here. But again, we just want to tell you, go to hellofresh.com/banner16. Is that correct?
Banner 16. So, no, I noticed that too. I didn't want to say anything, but
okay, all right. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna keep going.
It's 16 meals, so maybe that has something to do with it. Yeah, there are 17 banners now, but we don't. One of those banners was probably a joke.
And we're shooting for 18. Maybe if they win this one, they'll take one off the board.
Yeah.
But yeah, banner 16.
We couldn't get 17 free meals out of them, huh? Which is just to get the promo code.
No.
Okay.
So
We'll have to work on that.
16 free meals and 3 free gifts. That's pretty good. HelloFresh.com/banner16. Use the code banner16. Up to 16 free meals. That's pretty good.
It's gotta be a free gift. I mean, you don't get charged for a gift.
Yeah. So once again, that's of course not. That's what free is. Gratis.
Free gift. Gift.
Yeah, it's a gift. It's a gift. It's a gift. All gifts are free, right?
We're 16. All right, we're gonna have to put our heads together.
Once again, HelloFresh, America's number one meal kit. Okay, go check it out.
Yeah, I'll let everybody know what I get delivered. I'm expecting some good ingredients. Anyways, let's move on. Let's just move on. New graphic, please. Before
I will. I'm gonna leave it on the screen.
10 minutes between graphics over there.
I know. It's tough. I got my Wi-Fi issues these days. So yeah, Bobby and Josue are there. Sherrod's at the game too. He's got multiple post-game assignments for a zillion different outlets. So we'll get to him if we can later, but we know Bobby and Josue will be jumping on and tons to talk about here. Jimmy, what's first and foremost on your mind? Like, what's your number one takeaway, not just on tonight, but on the series? The
series to me was for us, like, people who have seen Jayson Tatum play, it's not a complete surprise to us. But I think if you're a casual, or if you're just a national, watching the game on the national broadcast,
just poking in for the first time, right?
This have to be a Jayson Tatum like coming out party type of series to see what he was able to do against Durant. He went toe to toe with one of the best players in the league, and really a player that will go down in history as one of the best. And he kind of had his say in things like, hey, you're going through me, this is how it's going to be now for a long, long time. The Celtics led by Jayson Tatum are going to be a problem. And that's kind of how I felt after a couple games. And sure enough, tonight, and obviously he was in foul trouble for much of this game, but he still had his moments where they were, he still hit the big three, he still drove to the hoop, and he had the swagger about him. It's something that we've seen for the last few months now. So to me, that's my main takeaway. I'm not saying that the Celtics only won because of Jayson Tatum, but that's just, he's kind of elevated himself to that upper echelon. There's a lot of all-stars, there's a lot of stars, but there's only a handful of superstars. And I think we've been talking about how he's in that like 5 to 10 range, but I think a series like this kind of gets him up to that like 5.
We weren't, Jimmy, to be fair, because you and I were in line with this when the season began, and Tatum, who I don't think had, I don't think he had a big step forward year last year, and then the way that he started this year, and we always use like those top 100 lists as comparisons and this and that, and how do people view him?
Yep.
I think he was fairly cast outside the top 10 in that kind of 12 to 15, 12, 16 range in a class with very good players like Booker, Mitchell, Trae Young, all of those guys. Perfectly good company, outstanding players to be included amongst. But we always said like the difference between Celtics getting far or not is going to be, Tatum cracking into that top 10 and Jaylen Brown making another leap. Tatum clearly leapt into top 5 territory. I don't think anybody debates that anymore. I mean, he's clearly there, and and again, sure, it's a year in which you're missing some other big time superstars for most of a year, like Kawhi Leonard and Dame Lillard and this and that. But start to finish this year, it's really hard to argue Jayson Tatum is outside of the top 5 players this year. So
yeah, I mean, at that point, you're arguing like, you're probably arguing with somebody that their favorite player
is he 6th, right?
Yeah, exactly. Is he 6th? So
yeah.
The point being is he's
there, yeah,
into that conversation. And like you said, to start this season in the way and a couple months in, people were wondering like, is he peaked? Like, I mean, I don't think people were seriously wondering that, but that was some talking points on, wherever you want to tune into. So I don't think anyone's going to be having those conversations ever again. This is clearly a guy who, what was said about him coming into the league and over the last few years is that he has like unlimited potential. He's got the length, he's got the shot, he's got the potential to really take it to the next level on defense.
And
really, that's where he's doing it.
And he outplayed Kevin Durant, which is something we didn't think was possible. We just thought that was asking a lot.
Totally.
Right.
He was the best player in the series. When we
legit had conversations last year when the Nets were beating them and saying, see Durant, that's who we want Jayson Tatum to grow up to be. And everybody on the panel would be like, that's ridiculous. It's Kevin friggin' Durant. You can't ask him to be one of the 5 best players who's ever played, 10 best players, whatever you want to put Durant at. But one of the great, that's ridiculous. You can't hold him to that standard. And 1 year later, he outplayed him through 4 games in a series without question.
Without question.
That's impressive.
Absolutely. And I'm sure Kevin, I mean, I haven't, Bobby and Josue are there, and hopefully they'll have some quotes for us, but I would imagine Kevin Durant's going to tip his cap to Tatum after this game. He's one to give respect where it's due. And certainly the Celtics as a team had a great game plan for Kevin Durant. And that was a lot of that had to do with the way Tatum played. So it's, Bobby's going to say defense. It's his defense. Well, yeah, it's true. Like that's exactly
exactly that voice.
For sure. And that's exactly what took him to that next level in this series. And I think that's going to continue to evolve even more. And we'll be talking about him in the MVP conversation, I think, moving forward. I think next season, I mean, there were whispers of it, it was never actually going to happen because it started too late in the year where he started to turn things around. But if he plays the way he's been playing the last couple months, if he plays like that to start next season, absolutely he's going to be a candidate for MVP consideration. And if the Celtics, if they come back and are winning games, I mean, I think winning should matter when it comes to the MVP. So I mean, it's like the sky's the limit for that kid.
It's defense.
So that's my main takeaway.
It's defense.
It's I told you guys, it's the defense. The Nets don't play any. Bobby's gonna take. Listen, Bob, we're making fun of him. He's gonna have his victory lap.
He's gonna have a huge victory lap.
Huge victory lap for Bobby. So we'll get it out of the way now. We're not gonna have much to come at him for.
It's
unfortunately,
the defense. I love it.
So, Tatum aside, other things I liked. I got to give Jaylen Brown his due. I have to, because I thought he was massive in this series. And again, we're talking about how great Tatum was, and I understand that Tatum had a more maybe complete series, but Jaylen Brown was vital in all 4 games. vital. I mean, you probably don't win any of the games without Jaylen Brown's contributions. I mean, I would say you definitely don't win those games without Jaylen Brown's contributions. He was huge when they needed him in some big spots in the second half of games in the fourth quarter. And even tonight, when Tatum fouled out, Celtics, like you said, they were kind of struggling there for a bit, floundering, trying to figure out what they were doing on offense. Brown came through for them and got them on the board, broke the drought, kind of righted the ship a little bit. And I think that he definitely deserves his props. Tatum's going to get the national dues tomorrow on all the talk shows and everything, but Brown had an unbelievable series himself, and this is after a season where he didn't get a chance to play in the playoffs. So I'm sure this meant a lot to him to be able to contribute in the way he did. So that's our Jaylen Brown segment.
That's it. Jaylen Brown segment. You know what else I'm going to do? I'm going to steal Bobby's Grant segment from him.
Steal it. Yeah, we didn't talk Grant.
I'm going right out of the gate.
Brownie Award.
Oh, he's here. Crap.
Quick, get it out, quick.
I'm giving Grant the brownie.
Yep. Co-sign.
Unbelievable.
Batman tonight. Batman in Gotham City. That was Grant tonight. He had some massive threes, played great defense, got in Kevin Durant's face. He was everything they needed. Brownie Award for sure.
Seriously.
Easy choice.
Yeah.
Easy choice. And Grant is like almost like he's like the personification of the Celtics team, You just
Woo! You can hear the partying behind Bobby.
Bobby!
Wow.
There he is. Take your victory lap, Bobby. What do you got for us?
Well, Jimmy, I'm going to throw it at you. I heard the laughing. I wasn't on the air, but I went back and watched the replay saying, oh, Bobby's going to pick a sweep, of course. And here we are. So, Game 3, I saw more of the folding I expected from Brooklyn than I did in this one, although this game to me was just some jacking shots praying for a win. And it worked at times. Other times, the Celtics were matching them and sustaining their lead that they built with stops early. So the Celtics come away, I think, surprisingly sweeping this series, just given the firepower on the other side. But in the end, their defense proved much more effective than people thought coming in, and the Nets defense, I thought, proved worse. And people thought it was going to be bad.
Defense.
Yes, it was even worse than people expected. They couldn't buy a string
So
of stops for
that's the one thing.
series.
That's the one thing I'll contest. I actually didn't think the Nets defense was as putrid as I thought. They have no interior presence and the size kills them. But I thought they did an okay job given their personnel limitations. What I will say is I totally agree with part one. Celtics defense made life extremely you just thought Durant and Irving would get their shots because that's who they are. Everything was hard for them. Everything was hard.
Oh, jeez.
What happened?
Claxton just missed another free throw. Sorry.
Oh, ding.
My bad. Just watching.
That was low key one of the two low key best moments of the game.
Such a good sideshow.
Claxton making his 11th field goal and the loudest cheer in the place all night long, making his 11th free throw after missing the first 10, and then Grant's after the whistle defense on Kevin Durant, chasing him all the way down the sideline when he wouldn't let him get the shot off there.
Yeah, Grant said earlier in the series that they want to make even Durant getting a cup of water on the sideline difficult.
Yeah, he wouldn't let him get the shot off. The ref's right next to him, and he's chasing him to the sideline like this. I love that.
Yeah, Ime said they want to hack away at Claxton and Drummond, who became a no-show in this series. Basically,
what would they have done with Claxton and Simmons out there tonight?
Yeah, you think of Claxton, Simmons, Drummond. It's
Celtics, were you just panning to the Celtics playing defense? They've just been hacking at anyone they can see running by, whether it's Blake, whether it's Simmons. Oh my God.
Blake's not great there either. He's better than those three. But Josue's in the Nets pressers right now. I heard Steve Nash call Claxton a developing free throw shooter.
That's funny way to put it. I love Blake Griffin. Literally has to be demummified every time he comes into the game. He goes to the sideline and he's got a full body sling.
It takes him a while to get up when he hits the floor too.
Oh my God!
Bobby, were you in there for any Celtics?
Yeah, we just got Ime. Ime said he's going to celebrate on the plane and move on to the next round. A lot of chest puffing over not being afraid of Brooklyn, which I think a lot of the chat will be doing as well. But overall, I electric game plan from the coach here. Like we're going to probably rank our MVPs by the end of the show here. Ime's got to be in the top 3 to 4 most important players. I think Grant's worth mentioning in there. Tatum, despite Nick's contesting to Jimmy on Twitter, should come away with the MVP of this series, despite a rough game 4, by the way. But we'll get to that. And Ime overall, I think, just hit every nail on the head, like attacking the stars and making them tired. Durant misses a huge free throw with 22 seconds left in this one.
Crazy.
Missed way more free throws than he usually does, which I think you can chalk up to fatigue for him. And then on the other end, doubling when Durant got inside in this series, but holding their ground individually one-on-one on the perimeter ended up being the perfect middle ground for them defensively. They weren't giving up Curry and all the other guys wide open shots off initial double teams, and the Nets easily burned them that way. They kind of hedged their bets a little bit in terms of how they guarded Durant, and I thought Kyrie just kind of took himself out of this series. Another
I don't get what he
pretty
did.
empty performance tonight.
I don't
Shoots
get it at all.
18% from 3 after game 1.
He's
Not much of a factor.
He's a strange cat, huh? Like, I don't get how you go from 39 points in game 1 with the I'll take on the whole world, F all of you guys, to like shooting like 10, 11 free throw. Excuse me. To shooting just a few times per game, not being assertive on offense at all. It's fairly strange. Just these last 3 games from Irving are really weird.
Checked out. I saw a picture tweeted of him like walking in the arena, and it was just like
I saw that, and that was kind of his demeanor throughout the game.
Totally. Whenever you see him out there, it looks like he's like just doesn't. It looks like he's at a 9 to 5 and just waiting for.
And what was up with Claxton this morning, joking about some reporter?
I don't even know if we want to go back. Yeah,
he did the I don't. Yeah, I want to go. Like what I know he was joking, but that was strange. And then overall, the game plan again for Brooklyn, ton of switching, putting their bigs on the perimeter. You talk about the lack of rim protection, John. They switch everything, which didn't end up being a great formula. Blake comes in again, and he's Blake. He hit the 3 off the backboard, but overall he made himself a target defensively. And playing in crunch time, as Ime said just a few minutes ago, gave the Celtics a guy to really target with Jaylen specifically. And Jaylen gets splits the pair of free throws there. Gets the and one to go with Kyrie kind of lost on a switch following him. And those ended up being the 2 big plays down the stretch that sealed the game after Tatum fouled out. Great poise from the offense after Tatum goes down, producing good shots. The Horford 3, again, a play that Blake was guarding, was huge there. And overall, they ran their offense, John. That was my biggest thing coming into this series. The Nets, they had stretches of decent defense, as you said there.
Well, they're
Celtics,
just learning each other, Bobby. They have to gel. They still need to gel.
The Nets made it easy to run the offense that the Celtics want to. Downhill every time, bad rotations off of collapses, open threes the whole way for Boston. It just, offense came easy for the Celtics in this one. And really the 2 games here in Brooklyn, the Nets are hanging around, right? They're making shots. They're staying within 6-7 points, but they can't get stops to get over the hump. They didn't even end up taking the lead in this one, but they got really close.
They made it. I mean, they have the offensive talent to put dents into double-digit leads very quickly. A couple quick threes, a KD drive. That's really all it takes. And you're right, John. I thought Irving was. After the game 1, he was non-existent. I mean, if his name wasn't Kyrie Irving, who the hell would notice that guy really much at all? He had a 3-pointer there when Marcus Smart gambled and left him open. But he was very underwhelming, I think is the word. I don't know how you could think otherwise.
And when Durant was rolling in this game, wasn't he? This was a bounce-back effort for him, and you think that would flow. It flowed into a big night for Seth Curry, certainly. Mm-hmm. You would think it would flow into some space or availability for Irving to do something, and it never really did. He had 7 points late, helped push them within 1, but that was really his only charge all game. He entered the 4th with 13 points.
Yeah. The one of the saddest things, when you're just talking about the Nets, like physical limitations. One of the saddest things ever was the Steve Nash. You didn't see it, Bobby, because you're at the game. Steve Nash did an interview with TNT, just talking about the game, and he's like, they're like, well, we're getting killed on the glass. He's like, so what are you gonna do there? And then they're like, well, then you went with the small lineup. He's like, yeah, we got to do that to create space, I guess. But when we do that, we get beat up on the glass. So there's really nothing we can do. Basically, like, we're going to lose no matter what strategy we employ here. So we're just trying to, like, death by 1,000 paper cuts rather than lose it all at once. Like, he was just approaching
it's
it
true,
like,
right?
he was approaching it like there's literally nothing we can do. Like, no matter what we pick personnel-wise, and this is the strength of the Celtics. If you have size and people who can space the floor and who can defend multiple positions, you just don't have a lineup that's one thing or another. It can't be exploited. Whereas no matter what lineup the Nets are putting out there, you're like, oh, they're going with the Blake Griffin lineup. Let's go there. They're going with the Bruce Brown lineup. So they're small. Let's do this. It was always going to be areas that you could exploit there. The Celtics did a good job of that.
Looks like some players are coming to the locker room, so I'll be back. Josue should be here shortly. I see Kyrie's talking right now, so we'll have some more reporting.
Journey. It's all about the journey. We're just beginning our journey, Bobby. Our journey here. Our journey.
He said this is good motivation going into the summer. Yeah. I believe I just saw on the thing there, but we'll be back with some quotes.
Yeah, motivation.
You shouldn't still need motivation, dude. Like you're in the playoffs already.
Kyrie's gonna wake up and everyone's gonna be gone, and he's gonna be like, "Wait a second, where did the team go?" Like, now we're out.
We'll be happy about that, though.
We're out of here,
never
dude.
been one to rally the troops, I don't think. So, all right. So Bobby in and out like a hurricane. He's gonna go check out some Celtics. Hopefully, I think there'll be some good quotes coming out of this one. Whether it's Tatum, Brown, Grant's usually good for a couple. I mean, they should be fired up. I mean, this has to feel different than some of those other series they've been in, because I feel like they have to know that I feel like it's more real this time. Like there's a lot more, I feel like, at stake for them. And I think they realized that when they lost in that bubble, that was a wake-up call. I know Tatum's gone and said that, like, because after they struggled after that series lost, it's hard to get back to that point. So I think they're playing with a little bit more of a purpose. They know what's at stake. They know what they need to do, and they should be the favorites. I mean, they really should. They'll definitely be the favorite next round, regardless of who it is, Milwaukee or Chicago. Now, I know Milwaukee is a much more complete team than the Nets, so it's going to be difficult in that sense. Even without Middleton, it's not going to be no one's going to predict a sweep just because Middleton's not there. But I still think the Celtics, I'm fairly confident, I'm certain actually, that they're going to be the favorites going into that series, as they should be. I don't know how you pick against them right now. I'm not going to be able to pick against them until, depending on who they play in the NBA Finals, if they get to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, and again, that was always my philosophy on one. There was no pre-Rob injury. I don't think any of us were picking against them. Right. We're picking against them, period. Fully healthy now, I can't see picking against them. That being said, both next rounds, if you get all the way through, are extremely tough opponents. So
yeah, let's assume Milwaukee and Miami.
If you assume it's Milwaukee and Miami, yeah,
two great teams, well coached, players that have been there and done that, and gonna be tough series.
Yeah. We even talked about it, like when the odds makers had the Celtics as the favorites to come out of the East to get to the finals, they still only gave them a 35% chance, which means the most likely thing is you won't reach it because it's that hard, because there's that many good teams. But they're going to be favored in every series they play the rest of the way.
There's three good teams, and they're all going to advance to the next round. Like, I think we've already discussed.
The Embiid is a game changer. That's not going away. Bucks will get Middleton back, so they will get right eventually. But that Philly falls off because of that Embiid injury.
I don't know when Middleton's supposed to be back, though. That's the thing, right? It's kind of a race.
They had it at 3 weeks, so it could be mid-round 2.
Before, yeah, that would be a huge get for them, obviously.
Yeah,
and I'm sure they'll try to get him back as soon as as long as he's healthy.
But the friggin',
Celtics get a nice little break here too. I mean, geez, what are we talking about? Like a week off, probably.
Well, they try to make these game ones on the weekend, so they usually set the weekend for game 7 if necessary or game 1.
Right.
So
So, I mean,
if
obviously,
Milwaukee wraps up Chicago, if Chicago doesn't go 7, the Celtics will play game 1 on the weekend, probably like a Sunday game.
right.
So it's
So
still a big layoff.
well, yeah, because Milwaukee and Chicago play Wednesday.
Yeah.
So that, if Milwaukee does win, they're gonna have what 2 days? Maybe they'll push it to Sunday to give them an extra day. I don't know.
It'll be the weekend for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah. So game 1 will probably be Sunday. If
Yeah.
Milwaukee wraps it, if Milwaukee doesn't need a game 7.
Right. Interesting. So they're not gonna they're not gonna wait for the other series to finish up. They're just gonna, if they have the matchup ready, they're gonna schedule it.
Because they always do that. Some series start while others end. They leave that weekend for game 7s if necessary, and game 1s for the series that are wrapped.
Yep.
So
either way, nice little break though. They can get back to Boston. They can work on some things. They can rest up. It's the play. It's a long season. And some of these guys play. Al specifically, guys that are could use the rest after playing the amount of minutes that they've been playing. There's no negative. There's nothing negative to talk about sweeping and having a week off or 5 or 6 days off to get your shit together. And
yeah, I wouldn't have minded. I mean, look, I wouldn't have minded seeing Rob get another game under his belt because he definitely looked rusty as hell. But whatever, more time.
Yeah, they'll go 5 on 5. They'll practice hard, I'm sure, a couple of times and make sure that he's good to go. So I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
He looked a little rusty at times. You're right, but he still got up there, threw one down on the lob, and did Rob-like things.
Yeah, he looks like that version of himself that doesn't have full control over his arms and legs. And just kind of like, whoa, what happened over here? So it's some of the basketball instincts are just a step behind.
Toronto is going to beat Philly. They're up 14 with 2 minutes to go. So that's going to go to a game
6. Yeah, this Philly's in trouble.
Very interesting. Even if Philly gets out of this, they're going to get a Miami team that's going to beat the hell out of them. Beat them up.
Philly's toast, I think.
It's too bad. Embiid, obviously had an MVP season, and the fact that Philly is even where they are is solely because of him. So
I feel really bad about this type of injury too. When you have a guy like Embiid who's 7'2", 290 pounds or whatever, like when he suffers things like back injuries or lower extremities or his feet, you're like, I get it. He's huge. That stuff happens. That's the downside. But a thumb is such a freakish thing.
I know. It's so important, obviously. So
I know. You're the right thumb,
Yeah. It's too bad. You really feel for the Philly fans. It's more than anything, too.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Don't give a shit about the Philly fans. Sorry.
Harden with another whatever tonight. He was 5 of 17 the game before this.
Yeah, Harden. That's the other thing. Like Brooklyn, Philly, they all have issues that go beyond just being eliminated in the playoffs right now. Like there's just some huge questions in terms of roster building and what they're gonna look like even going into the next season. And you're gonna feel pretty good if you're the Celtics. I mean, that's crazy for me to say that because I wanted to blow up the entire organization like earlier in the season. So like, yeah, I've done a complete 180 very quickly. But they're all of a sudden in a great position.
Yeah.
Going into next season, even not to look ahead.
But if you hated the notion of these like ego-driven super teams,
right?
Of like just mega stars forcing their way into places with one another, regardless of fit. Then you've got to feel great seeing the 3 best teams in the East being the Celtics, the Bucks, and the Heat, which every piece on their roster complements the other ones, and even though there are superstars on these teams, multiple superstars on these teams, they're like constructed far more organically rather than like, I want to play with this guy, and like make it happen. And everyone else, and when I get there, trade everyone else. Okay. Like that's real. Like this idea of like, how do you establish, think about the Nets from the moment Kyrie arrived, okay? Kyrie and KD arrived. KD's not playing. Kyrie comes in there. He looks around the room and he's like, we got it. We'll be good as soon as we get rid of all of these guys, basically says that like publicly. Then he gets hurt, misses most of that year. They perform fairly well without him. Then they're like, okay, let's get rid of all of those guys, and then they trade for Harden.
I got a couple of things I'm seeing on Twitter that I want to read. So, Bobby Marks, who is like a front office insider guy, everyone knows him. He had a tweet. Jaylen Brown earned a $482,000 bonus with the Celtics reaching the second round. So now we know why he was playing so well. Like I said, I was like, Jaylen Brown gets, he's got to get his props. He's like, yeah, I'm getting that money. We're winning this series, definitely.
Yeah.
The other one, we have a quote, a Kyrie Irving quote. No word of journey in this one, but he says that he plans to re-sign with the Nets. Quote, when I say I'm
if
here,
if y'all will have me.
If you have me. He goes, when I say I'm here with Kev, I think that really entails us managing this franchise together alongside Joe and Sean. Now he wants to build the roster.
It's not your job to manage.
Alongside Joe and Sean. Joe being the owner and Sean being the
oh my God.
Man, that is just so he wants to coach, he wants to own, he wants to GM. Does he want to play? Because it didn't look like he wanted to play. So I don't know if this guy knows he's a player or if he thinks he's past that. But that's a classic.
If you're the Nets, would you take? I mean, he can opt in.
He says he's gonna
right. So is the idea that he opts out to re-sign?
I don't know exactly how.
Yeah, that's how it works.
I imagine. I mean, wouldn't that makes the most sense? Yeah, and that's
he opts out and re-signs.
Yeah, maximize your.
Is there any world in which the Nets say no? They're married to it at this point.
Kyrie reiterates that he is confident he will be with the Nets. Quote: "There's no question where I'm going. I'm here with 7," meaning Kevin Durant. So,
Durant is secretly gonna walk up the back steps and be like, "Yeah, me or him."
Yeah, KD. This is all news to KD, I bet, right? No, I mean, I don't know. It's like I said, it's a very interesting situation over there. We obviously Celtics fans know that Kyrie Irving has said that he plans on re-signing with teams in the past, and that has gone differently. But the difference is Kyrie Irving's got his buddy with him now. He's got Kevin. We just talked about buddies wanting to play with him. He calls him
7.
7. Yeah, I know. So 7. Cool. So cool, man. But that's the difference. Kyrie wants to play with his buddy. And he didn't have any buddies here in Boston. He had some of the younger guys who they didn't have that same connection, whatever. It sounded like Jaylen Brown says that they butted heads a lot when he was on the team. Not so much now. Not that really matters, but I think we all kind of got that impression that there was a huge disconnect between Kyrie and the rest of the team when he was here. I mean, I was there all the time. I could see it. I think we all could sense it. There was just it was all bad vibes in that locker room during that final season. So I can't imagine the vibes are great in the Nets locker room over the last couple of weeks or really all season. I don't know why there would be any good vibes. It's really a really horrible season for the Nets. We haven't even mentioned Ben Simmons yet. I mean, really, it just goes from bad to worse for that franchise this season. So you hate to see it. I'll end it with that. You hate to see it.
The Simmons stuff took a weird turn today too.
Somehow
and in such a predictable way.
Yeah, I don't even want to spend much time on this bum because he's not even worth talking about. He doesn't play basketball. This is a basketball show. This guy doesn't play basketball. He's played as much basketball as we've played this season, John. So, I mean, as soon as he shows that he wants to play and actually wants to be a part of a team and contribute and not quit, then we'll talk about him. But other than that, I don't really want to pay much attention to this guy.
Yeah. What's up, Bobby? Who talked?
Marcus.
And?
A lot about embracing the Nets matchup. I asked him about the game plan, which I found interesting going into the series of really attacking Durant on the defensive side of the ball. Kyrie forcing those guys to defend and I think wearing them out over the course of this series. And he basically raved about Ime's game plan overall coming into this series, that he put them in great positions to win every single game, had every little detail down. And you could really see that against Durant, especially from game one. They were in his spots. They were beating him to those sweet mid-range looks that he's trying to get. One guy's flying in from the side. One guy's really rising up over the screen. double them at the exact right moments. They were drilled on the Durant tendencies, and having that week where the Nets were, playing Cleveland in the play-in, I think helped toward that. They had a ton of preparation time there. And it was pretty clear coming into this that they were ready to defend this team. They had everything mapped out, tons of film, and they executed it well against this group. Like the defense, you really can't say enough about how ready they were. We thought they might be able to slow Durant, make life a little difficult, but didn't you think like Kyrie and Durant were just going to go off in this series and you just have to live with it around the edges and outscore them?
You thought, I thought it would be an always one or the other scenario, right? So like if you don't expect them always both to be going off for 35 or 40, but you wouldn't think you'd have multiple games, 2 games with them being as quiet as they were in games 2 and games 3. That was really surprising. You saw Kyrie go off in game 1, and that was almost enough to beat you on its own right there. So you just thought there's going to be a 40-point game in there because that's just what they do. It didn't happen. Somebody, Honest Larry, I don't know if you guys follow on Twitter, made a good point today. Was like the Celtics defense is like a boxer who just keeps punching the other guy in the arms until his arms are so tired he can't lift them up anymore, to hit you back. And that's kind of the case, is like it just wears you down over time because you have to work so friggin' hard for everything. And that's just what it was. It's exhausting. The Celtics are such a pain in the ass to play against, and it's their best quality. They're so annoying. We talked about their defense at the end of the year or during that, the whole run, the last 35 games. It feels like there's 6 guys out there when they're switching and they're on a string right there. And you think you get past a guy and there's like 3 more in front of you. You're like, what the hell is going on? And that's
did Durant and Irving shoot any easy layups all series?
Not layups. And KD when he was decisive and got his shot off quick before the double came, or off of a screen, he got a few open jumpers. But for the most part, Irving.
This was a jump shooting series for the Nets.
It's a jump shooting series. Irving got to the basket a little bit today, and then in game 1, but not in games 2 and 3. He got to the basket a couple times tonight.
Yeah, little floaters. They got to the 5-foot range, but in terms of getting downhill to the basket and scoring at the rim, I'll get the shot charts up later, but didn't feel like there was much of it. Yeah, like Durant especially, he wasn't hitting layups at the rim, dunks. That's the stuff that comes easy, and that's what you want to produce as an offense. Neither of those guys really got any off-ball opportunities all series. You saw one catch-and-shoot 3 early from Durant with Seth Curry setting him up. Feels like they underutilized Curry in the series. Certainly Blake, if they wanted to go that route, they should have done it much sooner. And I think the world's coming down on Steve Nash. I actually wanted to talk to Stan Van Gundy. I couldn't catch him pre-game, but he was the only guy in the world, I think, defending Steve Nash right now. Everybody else is ready to send him packing, and I'd imagine we'll hear pretty soon that Steve Nash is getting fired. He'll be the fall guy for this.
Do you think that's a certainty, even if he gets KD and Kyrie's blessing?
Yep. Yeah, you got to step in as an organization now and make your choice and start to establish control of this. Irving committed to re-signing tonight. I don't know if you guys put that out there.
Yeah, so he and Billy and Sean can help run the team.
Is Kyrie going to fire Steve Nash personally?
That's an interesting part. Yeah. All right. So that's an interesting.
Right?
That's an interesting second half to that quote, John. You're right.
Interesting, Bobby. It's preposterous.
Yeah,
it's preposterous.
It's unbelievable.
It's emblematic, right?
Who does this guy think he is? You just lost a game because you weren't good enough at basketball, playing basketball.
Yeah, you didn't score
as a
the
player,
ball.
as a basketball player, you got beat playing basketball. Now you're gonna tell these friggin' guys how to do their job? Oh
yeah, a commenter just said Nash might step down. I could see that. I don't think they want to fire him because he has a good relationship with Sean Marks, too. That's a big reason he's the coach as well.
And I feel like he was set up to fail. He got brought in there to be exactly...
Oh, the Simmons thing was the cherry on top.
Not just that. He got brought in there with no experience to have his assistants nearby and to be that guy that could be the player's coach. That's exactly what a veteran group like this needed. He was brought in here to be exactly who you expected Steve Nash to be. You can't scapegoat him as part of the problem and be like, well, they got out coached. It was a team that wasn't supposed to need coaches. It was going to win on talent alone. Well, okay, now you want to coach. Good luck. And what are they going to do? They're going to bring in another player coach wannabe retread sort of thing, or are they going to bring in somebody who's actually going to crack the whip and be tough on these guys? I don't.
Well, I said this. So the last time I was here in February when the Celtics annihilated them and no one played, that's when I first started thinking about championship for the Celtics. But it's also when I said on Brooklyn, this guy doesn't have it. Like, he's not delivering what they need right now, because during that time when Irving was out with the vaccine stuff, Durant was hurt, Harden was taking his hiatus right before he got traded. That's where they need to build up role players. That's where they need to establish the guys who were really going to help them once the stars got back. And they lost 15 or 17 of 20 or whatever it was, blown out in every game, developed nothing. Ime was even asked about it. Like, did you take any little thing away from that game? He said nothing, because the Nets didn't do anything. They just started firing away with the young guys. Brown got back into the fold. Bruce Brown, who was the best net in the series, I thought was benched in January. Another huge mistake by Nash there. He's low on the totem pole, John, for sure, but he didn't help them at all.
Yeah.
Like, he needed to help them at a certain point.
I'm saying
and
that's just what you get.
Yeah.
If you get a team that is supposed to just be an offensive juggernaut, but can't really defend and doesn't have a top shelf coach who's a strategic X and O guy, then don't be shocked when you lose because you can't defend and your coach can't help you, can't help you in certain situations. Like, that's what you bought. Don't get pissed that your sports car doesn't handle well in the snow. Like, that's what you got.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what I mean is, like, it's not that's not the problem. The problem is you built this, you made it this way.
And the story will be written again, I'm sure. It already has been by Christian Winfield. What could have been with Ime? He was on that sideline a year ago, beating the Celtics 4-1.
You really think that Durant, Kyrie, and Harden or whoever was going to buy into what Ime's coaching style?
Maybe not. Maybe not.
It's one thing to, Team USA and all that stuff and to be an assistant, but listen, Steve Nash was dealt, an impossible hand.
You're right.
You guys already touched on it, but on top of it all, he had to deal with a circus all year. Kyrie Irving not being able to play, and then them deciding that he wasn't going to play at all. Harden and Durant having issues right off the bat. Trading for Ben Simmons, a guy that literally.
And they made him look foolish, Jimmy. Like, think of all the lying he had to do and just all the misinformation he had to put out there right up until the last day.
Yeah, he couldn't even focus on X's and O's. This guy was constantly the puppet master. He's the puppet.
The PR guy.
Exactly, he's the PR guy. So listen, if Steve Nash, the first thing Steve Nash should do tomorrow morning is step down. And that doesn't mean that he doesn't belong in the NBA in some role, and maybe he'll get another chance as a coach again someday. It's just not the situation that he needs to be in, and I would agree. Like, he needs to start fresh somewhere else. I don't know where that is,
and I don't know who the answer is going to be. I mean, this isn't the Nets post-game show. We'll get to that.
No, they're interesting because nationally, they're interesting for a couple of reasons. One, it was a super team that we thought was going to.
They were the championship favorites coming into the year by far.
They were, but that was before everything went wrong for them.
Yep.
They were supposed to block everyone's path in the East to contention. They were supposed to just, and we're talking last year too. If they don't get a couple of injuries, that
the foot on the line.
Well, whatever. I mean, you're still talking about Harden.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say Harden bad luck with his injuries. He's woefully out of shape and has hamstring problems. That's what happens to out of shape people. And so, but he had that hamstring thing. He was playing on one leg in the playoffs, and then Kyrie sprains his ankle against the Bucks and doesn't play the last 3 games of the series. So it's not just the toe on the line. They were this close to probably winning it all last year. And then they were supposed to come back reloaded this year. And if Kyrie doesn't pull his nonsense, Harden doesn't show up fat again. And again, that's their problem, though. This is what Jimmy talked about. There's something wrong with these guys.
I'm putting it on Kyrie. Never in the history of this sport, and maybe there's an example or two. Joseph, if he wants to pull the history card out, can do it in the chat. I can't think of a guy not showing up for a season.
Yeah.
Just flat out not showing up.
Well,
Just
you got
didn't go to
two.
work.
You got
Yeah.
Simmons and Kyrie. They're both on the same team. And
It's
And that's
amazing.
where-
Those are two of your signature
they
players.
know how to pick them over there in Brooklyn. don't they?
I mean, before that, Harden just shows up kind of 50%, and then eventually was like, "Yeah, I'm hurt again," and then just quits.
Just because he had to carry them for a few weeks when
the
Durant was
amount
hurt.
of
What a joke.
quitters! What a bunch of quitting losers!
And, like,
So I can't look at Durant.
Durant's the
Yes.
opposite. Like,
no,
he's-
Durant, I actually
such a
gained respect
gamer.
for.
Yeah, I can't
He
imagine.
struggled in this series, and he deserves criticism for that. But beyond that, I think this series was more just emblematic of the weight he's had to carry all year. I think Stephen A's done a lot of good commentary on the situation in Brooklyn. While Kyrie was resting during their home games, Durant was traveling, carrying the offense. MVP candidate for the first half before his injury.
Yeah,
He deserves very little criticism coming out of this series. He was amazing this year.
yeah.
I don't think there's no criticism other than
My
Tatum
respect for
mainly.
my respect for Durant went up because I've always thought he's a bit of a whiner too about certain things, but he just played the last 2 years despite the entire circus.
Yeah, I mean, it's a damned if you do. Jimmy, you were just talking about like any option the Nets went to was going to be futile. Even for Durant, like, I'm going to go in the scoring isolation mode. That wasn't going to work for him just because of the Celtics were defending. And then in game 3, he went into passer mode, and it's, he only took 11 shots. So
Right.
he was kind of damned if he did, damned if he didn't, too.
Yeah, in the passing mode, that was a bad decision. I mean, Kevin Durant needs to be Kevin Durant. He needs to be the number one option. He needs to look for his shots, and guys need to do everything they can to get him a shot. So that you could blame Nash. If you want to blame Nash for something, that's certainly one aspect of it. I don't think Nash had any effect on the in-game adjustments with these guys. I don't think he had much control there one way or the other. And you're allowed to criticize Nash. I just think overall he was put in a situation where he was doomed to fail. So in that sense, he's gone. It's going to be interesting to see what Kyrie Irving's, what the hell he's talking about, putting the team together and bringing in, working with the owner and the GM. And
It's a crazy statement.
thinks he's LeBron James. Like, it's like, dude, you're nowhere close. You never will be. So
Yeah, that's a bad sign for their future.
horrible. I mean, imagine hitching your wagon to that.
And they have to, right? They have no choice because they already traded Harden.
No, they
So
have. They have to say all the right things, and they have to smile, and they have to put up with everything about it. But at the end of the day, it's not going to be easy. I mean, yes, they have Kevin Durant, and if KD buys into it, and him and Kyrie can get on the same page early on, maybe there's a few role players that they can bring over. But it's still, man, there's just a lot to unpack from the way that season went for those guys. So I was saying to John, I don't think you're on screen, but if you're the Celtics, you have to be feeling pretty good about where you're at, not just this season, but moving forward, and comparing yourself to a few of the other teams at the top, in the East right now that have a lot of.
We'll see, right? Because that's where they're headed. Milwaukee, the defending champs. Stacking up against them is going to be what really tells us about this team, because I think a lot of people are going to look at the Nets and say, wow, those guys just folded. I think the Celtics deserve a ton of credit for forcing that, which is probably what I'm going to write about tonight. But you faced a sinking ship here. You just had it kind of widen the hole. The Bucks, they got some vulnerabilities, but they're still the standard, right? In the East, I know Miami's tough. They're the 1 seed, but you're looking at basically
talking about a complete team. Now, the Middleton thing is a huge, if, because you don't know when or if he's going to be back. It sounds like he might be back.
He's fighting for 2 weeks, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, that'd probably be best case scenario for them. So, but he's a Celtics killer. So, you have to be very careful with this Bucks team because they can kill you in a lot of different ways, and they actually do play defense, Bobby. So that's something that the Celtics are going to meet. I mean, the Celtics are still considered the best team in basketball on the defensive side, but the Bucks are certainly no slouches, nowhere near the issues that the Nets had defensively.
Nope. And they've had lapses, even in the Chicago series. For everyone who's been watching, you've seen the games where the Bulls have won and made it tough on them. It's been the games where the Bucks played streaky defense. They had stretches this year where they were in the bottom 10. Now that was without Brook Lopez, whose return I think was a big factor for them really ramping up their play at the end of the year. But right now, without Middleton, here's the tricky question for them. Giannis doesn't usually guard on the ball, so he's not the answer on Tatum unless they shake up their whole defense. Normally that would be Middleton. You can put Drew on Brown, but then it's like, who guards Tatum on the ball? You got Pat Connaughton, you got Wes Matthews, you got a shaky perimeter defensive group there. So that's where Milwaukee gets a little vulnerable. Now they can play bigger. I think that's what they'll do. Probably throw Bobby Portis out there quite a bit and really go large against Boston's big lineup. But Middleton's the one guy I felt like they couldn't lose. Obviously, second to Giannis. Behind Giannis, the one guy they could at least afford to lose going into a series like this. So that's their major vulnerability. But there's a couple for the Bucks. And I told everybody last show, be scared of them. I think there's reason to be scared of that group. But there's reason to be optimistic, too. There's a couple ways that this Bucks team's vulnerable right now.
Well, also, and you touched upon their size. That's why it was so huge to get Rob back when the Celtics did, because they wouldn't. In my
now he gets a week off to kind of ramp up, right?
Right. We said that off the top. I mean, the Celtics are going to get at least 5 days here, maybe more, and you're just going to get a little bit more of your health back. Get Rob back to where he needs to be. And without Rob, I mean, the Celtics could get away. I think they beat the Nets without Rob in the series. I think we saw enough to think that. But it would have been a lot more difficult. But the Bucks just pose a lot more of a bigger threat in the paint, whether it's Lopez, Giannis, Middleton. I mean, Holiday.
Constant pressure.
Yeah, right. I mean,
and you know what? If I'm going to nitpick this series, I didn't think the Celtics rebounded well. I actually thought they rebounded terribly in this series.
No, God, the offensive rebounds, that they gave up, just bad ones, lazy ones, just not putting bodies on people, just falling asleep.
Tice had such a bad series, didn't he?
Letting guys slip right by them. The rebounding was lazy. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good team rebounding effort at all.
They were switching a lot, and that's the downside to that. In position all the time on the box outs and such. So that's going to be a key area against Milwaukee. They'll make you pay, unlike Brooklyn did. And
I just want to see. Like as you said, Tice. For what Tice was a great pickup.
He held it down.
That's all you could ask for. He's done enough.
He did some things in the offense.
You can go back to the bench now, please. We want to go back to
Is Rob ready?
It doesn't matter. We want to go back to 10-minute Tice.
Yeah.
And it's time to put Rob back in there and go. Did he look ready? No, he looked really out of sorts tonight. But you're talking another week of practice and 5-6 days off, which is great. Get ready. Now, practice in full. Would it have been the worst thing in the world to get another game or two in reps? No, but also you don't want to risk the series running. You weren't going to extend the series just so Rob would play more. But if he got more game action, would have been better. But this is why when people were like, oh, I wouldn't play him. Screw it. He's ready. Play him, because you really did want some ramp-up minutes. This was best case scenario. They didn't really need him. He didn't make much of an impact at all, but he got some game action under his belt before going against Milwaukee, because you really do want to go back to your power starting five to start that series and pretend like nothing ever happened, and then just reset your rotations and go back to what you were doing beforehand and not have to worry about it. I don't want Tice out there against Milwaukee to start. Please.
No, I think everything you said there is right.
Yeah, please no. Yeah.
Please, basketball gods.
Please. Yeah.
And Ime did say he thinks Rob should be ready to go by the next time they play, which take that for what it is. And he had the 24-minute limit tonight, which was, I think, a pretty big leap up on.
You knew he was playing more because he got 2 stints in the first half, so you knew they were upping him. He got one stretch in the first half and the second half of last game. And
Stillens was 14 though.
What's that?
Stillens was 14. They reached a point where it wasn't working, so I think they cut it down a little bit.
It wasn't. Grant was so much more effective.
Yeah.
And
Grant, man, what an effort.
Grant got the brownie.
Yeah, I heard that coming in. Man, I wrote about him for Boston Sports Journal last week because he really is a remarkable case to look back on. We throw it back 1 year ago to this series. He didn't play at all in game 1 of that series. Game 2 and 3 got some garbage time. Game 4, they ramped him up. That was the adjustment. We debated. John left the computer because I threw Grant out there as an adjustment point for the series. And that's where we were at on him. The chat wanted him shot to the moon. Everyone was like, all right, should they just get rid of this guy?
He's going to be on the team.
Yeah, should they just get rid of this guy? Then everyone freaked out when he didn't do Summer League. They're like, this guy didn't do Summer League.
You're right. I forgot about that. You're like, of all the guys that should go to Summer League and not just the crowd, Durant.
But he was ready to go. Oh, man, he lost the weight. He was ready to defend the perimeter. He's hitting every three he takes. 3 straight threes again in the first half to give them some breathing room.
But again,
defense.
I've gotten used to the threes. I'll never get used to him locking down Kevin Durant on the perimeter. I can't wrap my brain around that.
And I saw it early. I was like, wow, what a rotation game 1. He just rotated in there so well against that defense. And I'm just looking at the Celtics pressers right now. I think Josue's in there grabbing Jaylen and Jayson, so he should be with us shortly. But yeah, Grant, what an evolution. Not only what amazed me with him this year was not only the spike in his play, but his bold attempt at becoming a leader as well. Like, I go back to that San Antonio game. They lost on the road, 15-0 run late. DeJounte Murray just punked them. They fall to 10-10. And who's on the podium as we're kind of debating the leadership void there? And it's Grant saying, like, we can't get this together next year. We got to get this together this year, not 4 years from now, right now. And a guy with as little cachet as he had coming into this year, taking as bold of a stand as he did there, I thought spoke volumes of the urgency he and some others had to get this right this year. I don't think any of us thought they'd have the turnaround they did, but it was urgency like his, and really his hot start to the year too, that gave them some hope. And man, you need guys like this in the playoffs. Every extra guy you can get into a game off your bench and get quality minutes from counts. And he was a big advantage on, I don't know who the Nets throwing out there, Nick Claxton, Goran Dragic. Right. You had a significant bench advantage in this series.
I agree with pretty much everything.
We lost John, by the way.
Oh, we can't hear John.
Yeah.
Good. Perfect. Then we can get something in. Nope, we can't hear you.
No.
I agree with pretty much everything you said, Bobby, on Durant. I thought at the beginning of the year when we were as low as we could possibly be on this team, Grant was the one player we were like, give him the captaincy. He's actually talking like he wants to be here, like he wants to play on this team, like he wants to be a part of something. Like nobody else was stepping up and sort of taking on any sort of leadership role at all. I think that's something that we knew about Grant for a while, is that he's a vocal guy. I think maybe sometimes to a fault. I think sometimes his teammates want to smack him, but it's all love. I just think that Grant's ability to lead sort of off the court, his personality and maybe his I don't want to say attitude, but I guess attitude has allowed him to become a better player. He's putting in the work, and you can clearly see how he's improved, not just from the outside game, but like John said, on the defensive side of things, staying with his man, being a little bit of he's not like, I know people like to compare him, or I've seen it on Twitter, they're comparing him to PJ Tucker. I don't think he's that level of bruiser, certainly, and like the toughness isn't quite there, and he's not as physical, but I still think he can get close to that.
He can be.
Later in his career, that's something that he could probably add at another point. But his outside shot it's already there. I don't know if Kyrie Irving just didn't get the scouting report on Grant, but he just left him open at one point for a wide open 3 in the corner. And there was some huge, huge shots from Grant in this game 4. And that's why he was our easy choice for Brownie.
The Brownie.
Johnny, got the Brownie.
There you are.
Can you hear me okay? Yeah.
Do we have a Brownie leaderboard?
We should go back and keep track.
I know that Jaylen Brown has the fewest brownies.
Jaylen had an awesome series.
Jimmy gave him the series MVP.
Did you, Jimmy?
Well, I
look how proud Bobby is of you.
I didn't. I understand why everyone's going to pick Tatum, but I want it to be known that I think Jaylen Brown is right up there with him in terms of importance. You don't win any of these games without Jaylen Brown's contributions. So in that sense, I don't know how you can't consider him, an extremely valuable 1A type MVP. Now, Tatum's defense on Durant and Tatum just in general, we're talking about a player now who's vaulted himself into the top 5 of the league. So it's hard to compare the two. But I just think Jaylen Brown's contributions should put him in the conversation for team MVP, because again, like what he did I think especially late in games when they needed.
He stole game 2.
Yeah, but even game 1, he went on a nice run. Tonight when Tatum fouled out, he had the basket to sort of stop the bleeding there. I know his ball handling is still iffy at times, but I just think that his clutchness, his aggressiveness to get to the hoop right now.
Can I add this to the resume too for your argument?
Hold on 1 second. Josue, I see you in the waiting room, but I can't tell if you're lined up or not because it looks like the camera's shooting up at you. So when you're ready to go, give me the thumbs up.
Thumbs up or something.
Yeah. Because right now, that's what you're gonna look like, huh? All right, we're going for it.
That's what I'm going with, man. Come on.
Because it was shooting up your nose. I was like, all right, he'll eventually square up.
You didn't get the hint.
Nah, I'm going with this. I'm going with this right here. I'm baseline right now. All right. They're taking away all the
places to sit.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Unless I want to look like like I'm in a dungeon.
Baseline Josue. What's good, dude?
Bobby's in the back of a station wagon right now.
No, I'm up in the.
Hey, there's a lot of riders in the back.
Bobby's saying backward seat.
We're both.
I don't want to.
We're both running out of time here for sure.
Yeah.
They're deconstructing the Barclays Center.
Wait, you have the floor. What'd you hear in the locker room?
Oh man, well, I got a chance to go to Brooklyn first, and all positivity coming from Kyrie. I couldn't get my question in. I wanted to ask him if he had any regrets, and it wasn't. I'm not talking about vaccine. I'm just saying in general. I just want any regrets throughout the course of the season, throughout the course of this playoff series. But I didn't get a chance. I know, right? I didn't get a chance to ask him, but before Durant could get asked that question, he said, "Hey, listen, guys, no regrets. All right." So it's all positivity on that side. Someone asked, I think it was Friedel, I forget who exactly asked Kyrie about his future. He laughed it off and said, "Listen, man, I'm here to stay. I'm not trying to go anywhere." And then, KD and I will look in the future. When KD was asked about, are there any kind of type of players that you want to add? What is this team missing? He goes, "Man, our season just ended an hour ago, And
what was the second half of that comment, though, Josue? I kind of left it off, too.
What do you mean? Well, I took it as, I don't know if you're talking about what I'm talking about, but towards the end of his comments, he was saying how there were, he had guys like Dragic battling down low. The Celtics were so much bigger and tougher and stronger. So I'm gonna guess and say he wants some athleticism on that team, some size. But what did you hear?
No, him and Kyrie. Yeah, Kyrie saying we're gonna do this in unison with the GM and the owner.
I'm looking forward to running this thing.
Yeah, Kyrie's response. Yeah. He's gonna LeBron it. I mean, look, that's what he always wanted to do, right? He always wanted to be that guy. He never wanted to be LeBron's, sidekick. And then after LeBron left, listen though. After LeBron left, though, he's like, well, wait a minute. I don't want to be the Cleveland part 2. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be stuck in this guy's shadow. I'm not surprised. This is the role that he always wanted, but he just no one like everyone else. No one saw COVID coming, and he had no idea he would only play 29 games this season.
Just explain to me this, Josue. You leave LeBron's shadow to go play with the only person with a shadow even close to the size of LeBron, which is Kevin Durant, and then within a year realize you need another superstar to come in there and help you out in Harden. What did you gain in terms of your autonomy and your ability to do things on your own by aligning yourself with these people? And also, why after 3 years of failure do you have faith in your ability to make the right decisions to put this together again? Like, at what point?
Because he only played it. He only played in 29 games. I honestly think that's what it is, Dan. And that's why I want to ask about.
And that's why the whole season to him is a wash. Yeah.
John, it's almost as if everyone is just like ignoring the fact, and that's the Brooklyn media included, right? Bobby and I talked about this a little bit. I mean, like, when it comes to hard-hitting questions, those aren't the guys.
They're talking about Kyrie's vaccine.
Vincent Goodwill, they're asking the hard-hitting questions, and they weren't getting the mic as much. What were you saying?
No, what I'm saying, I think you're 100% right. Those guys seem to be treating Kyrie not taking the vaccine as like an injury. Oh,
yes.
That unfortunate thing that happened, right?
Or they group it with, people were in protocol. Wait a minute.
Bad luck.
This isn't about you being in protocol like the rest of the roster. This is a personal choice you made. And listen, if you want to stand by that choice,
bad luck by the Nets. Right.
Right, but hear me out. If that's the choice you want to make, okay, that's fine. But are we going to ignore it? Just because you're not getting questions about it 3 months, 4 months later, and we're going to act like it didn't have a direct effect on the the outcome of the season, whether you want to talk about James Harden leaving, whether you want to talk about continuity, which has been like his new thing. Like, oh, well, we haven't had enough time to play. We didn't play enough games together. Well, whose fault is that? You know what I mean? And look, again, if you want to stand on that hill alone, that's fine. But don't pretend like it never happened. Like, I'm just surprised that wasn't even brought up once.
Well said, Josue.
Yeah, well,
It's crazy.
We're gonna take a quick pause.
Well, the craziest thing is that he wants to literally
HelloFresh.
be the GM and the owner too. That's the crazy thing. Okay.
Yeah, they should be reeling that back.
Guys, sponsor banner goes up. Everyone zips it, right?
I said I love HelloFresh. That's what I said.
Do you have your own experience?
Yes, but not on my name, if that makes sense. A friend of mine was a big fan, and this is a few months ago. I tried it, so it's really good, but I haven't used it personally, so I'm looking forward to it though. I will soon.
Yes, we will. We're all getting our goods here, but we want to tell you guys about HelloFresh, farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients, seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip the trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh. Cooking made easy. Again, we're talking hundreds of different recipes. You can pick up to 50 different weekly options every single week. You can, get a meal every single day. Get it once. You customize your frequency here, whatever you want to exactly your types of tastes. Meat, vegetarian, whatever you want it to be. Jimmy,
something for everybody.
Yeah, something for everybody.
Turkey burger.
Turkey burgers, cod, all of that stuff.
With the
you can get the Bobby menu.
So we say this all the time. We say this all the time, but I will say to you guys, it's super important, obviously, when we get the sponsors, to have people support our sponsors. So if you are thinking about doing something like this, take advantage of the offer. It's a really big deal, obviously, for us to be able to continue to pump out free content here. And then to get those sponsors coming back, which is great, great for the Garden Report and just gives us ability to do more. So again, it's hellofresh.com/banner16. Use code banner16 for up to 16 free meals. Okay. And 3 free gifts. So it's an amazing deal. If you've ever considered this, I'll tell you, I cannot explain how easy it makes your life when you do this. Anybody who wants to kickstart your life and start eating right, and you're in this weird rut and you're always eating junk food, or you got kids and you're eating their leftover mac and cheese or whatever, and you're like, I don't even have time to chop vegetables to make a salad. You're just so worn out. It's literally here's this and here's this and here's this, and put it together and eat a good meal.
Literally just have to eat it.
It's awesome. So
you don't have to get in the car and drive to the supermarket and go to war with everybody on the supermarket.
Oh, here we go. Bring it home, Jimmy. Bring it home.
Yeah, very easy. Ship to your door.
You don't need a job.
In the oven. Yeah, you don't even need to have a job to have this.
You don't even need a kitchen.
You
just need a mouth, dude.
That's
you don't need to go to McDonald's this time, right?
You just need a doorstep and a mouth. That's all you need.
That's it. A couple of fancy little meals. Maybe you want to impress the girl or the guy if they're coming over for a date night. They're like, oh my god, where'd you get all this full meal here? It's just a good option to have. You don't have to worry about it.
Yep. Just in, Ben Simmons probable for Game 5.
Oh man.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, he's already.
I'm glad we don't have to talk about that.
No, but I told Bobby before coming into the arena, I was like, he better not sit there. I'm sorry, but if I'm Steve Nash, look, man, you gotta watch this in the locker room, or we'll see you in the fall.
That's what
What if he showed up tonight fully dressed like the Joker or something, in an even more clownish outfit than last time?
I wouldn't be. Nothing would surprise me.
I wouldn't have put it past him, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good point by Josue. He predicted that he wouldn't be on the sideline there. And listen, we don't have to talk about it now. I'm glad our 11 months of Simmons debate come to a close here. And I think everything
I don't think it will
needed to be said,
because we got to see right now. I have no idea if this guy's gonna ever play basketball again.
Well, then there's even more of a reason not to
right.
talk.
So but there's a world in which he plays and is some version of the player he's been his entire career.
Are you still betting on that, John?
I don't know what I'm betting on anymore.
I don't think Brooklyn has a choice. They have to hold. That's what they're.
I legit think his brain is broken at this point. He's afraid of failure. He doesn't want to get out there and look bad.
He's a quitter.
So,
he's just always.
Yeah.
Never
But this isn't the team for that, you know.
I thought it
Yeah,
was
it
the
is.
team for him.
It's the perfect spot for him. It's a circus over there. He just adds. He's another sideshow in that crazy situation. But he's destined for the Kings, right? I mean, he's destined for some team that it just doesn't even matter what he does, or even if he doesn't play, it won't even make a noise because nobody will really know. But this is a guy that has proven now that he's not a competitor, and I don't even know why anyone would want to play with him at this point. I wouldn't.
And Jimmy, you talked about how hard they made it on Nash. This is the cherry on top. Him having to manage all the messaging on this front for days and days and days, going back a week and a half here. Every single presser with Steve was just a balancing act of the series and Ben. And, to the Celtics credit, John, you were laughing at the first presser there heading into this series when the Celtics were like, we're not preparing for him. And they were right not to. They didn't spend a second preparing for Simmons' arrival. And luckily they didn't waste any time because he never came.
Yeah.
He literally, that picture of him watching Rob dunk from the sidelines was just so perfect. Like, you could just see him being like, oh, shoot, I don't think I want to play. I don't think I want to go on that court. My back hurts all of a sudden. It was so great.
Yeah, I'm done talking about him.
I am too. I said I was done earlier in the show.
Until next year.
We'll back up again.
Yeah. So quick, we have time. So what is it? Is today Monday? We've got a good we got a good layoff until the next one, but we will definitely do another Garden report when we have the opponent. So if the Bucks, we're not going to do it breaking news right after the Bucks game, but once we know if they beat them,
they're at 3-1, right?
3-1. We'll come back out. We'll do a series preview. We might do a Twitter Spaces or something this week too, just to stay engaged. But this series is over. 4-0.
Done.
Can you imagine that? We all pick 6 or 7 sweep.
Yep.
Unreal. And it being easy. And you know what? Like, we can split hairs of whether the Celtics wanted it or not. They say they wanted it, and they came out and just absolutely smashed them. So credit to them.
I mean, let's say this though. It was a 4-0 sweep, but John and I spoke about it off the top. It was a lot closer than 4-0. I mean, some of these games they came down on the wire on multiple occasions.
Okay, Steve Nash. That's what he said after the game.
It wasn't a
game one. You're right, Jimmy, but I don't know about the next 3.
Well, the game tonight came down to the wire right until the very end, basically.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's a lot of stuff.
Game 2, they had a 17-point lead. Again, you're talking about games that conceivably one team or the other could have won. And so all 4 of them were games that could have been won by either team. I never really felt that the Celtics were going to lose games 3 or 4 at any point in time. It always felt like they had them at arm's reach.
Right.
But the reality is these were games that were competitive. That's all we're saying. They didn't just drill them. I mean, geez, Chicago just beat Milwaukee. Milwaukee just beat Chicago by 30 points without Middleton the other day. Like, they didn't have any of those games this series, So
yeah, and here's the thing: like, the endings might have been tight, but for key stretches, the Celtics were dominant.
It felt like the Celtics
that mattered, especially the third quarters in this series. Oh man, they blew them away.
It felt like the Celtics were. It felt like the games were more lopsided than the score. The last 2 games for sure,
and that's why. Yeah. Tonight, game 1 was perfect execution down the stretch. And they get a lot of credit for that. Tonight, they got a little fortunate. And Smart was kind of still defending his foul on Durant in the backcourt, saying, oh, you want to put him at the line? And, oh, I would have done it again. When it wasn't the best foul. It wasn't as bad as the Dallas one earlier in the year that cost them that game. But Durant hits 2 there. It's a 1-point game. Instead, he misses the second. Horford follows Smart's miss there, and it's a 4-point game and effectively over. So they got a little fortunate down the stretch in this one, but I feel like games 1 through 3, all the stretches that mattered, they kind of dominated. And it's because the Nets couldn't string together stops. They were just trying to catch up by shooting and, trying to outscore the Celtics. And that wasn't going to work when the Celtics could lock in defensively and pile up stops themselves. So I still felt like it was a blowout in the series. And like the commenters are saying here, 4-0 is 4-0, especially against your expectations coming into this. If the Nets were the real deal and playing well, they would have won a game at some point here.
Yeah, it's again the thing that we didn't see coming. Everyone knows the Nets can't play defense. Boston had a size advantage. You just thought KD or Kyrie would steal a game on their own, or two just by being KD and Kyrie. And Kyrie basically almost did it in game one. It just never came after that. So really the shutdown of those two stars, and I know Durant had a good point output tonight, but just how uncomfortable those stars looked and really, I mean, and Kyrie, complete disappearing act.
Credit to the one net who showed up. Bruce Brown.
Claxton.
Bruce Brown.
Claxton missed
Today?
10 free throws tonight.
But he showed up and he sat there and he kept clanking them and he didn't run to his agent and request a trade and then get mad at his coach.
He's not scared of taking him, at least.
And then he laughed when everybody cheered for him when he made the 11th, and he kept shooting after every miss. So I'm giving
one
him
of the loudest times of the night, by the way.
That was so
really loud.
Yeah.
Talk about nothing working.
In a nutshell.
The Nets had so many deficiencies, and on top of it, their center who was playing really well goes 1 of 11 at the line. Like nothing they could try was gonna work here.
But 6 of 6 from the floor.
I liked Brown. I liked Claxton. I thought Dragic played fairly well. I actually thought like a lot of guys you totally
looks like they
discount
should have
on their
went
team.
to Blake earlier in the series too.
I love Bruce Brown. I'd love the Celtics to swipe him. He's a free agent. It's probably not gonna happen,
I love him.
He'd fit right in on Boston if he took a pay cut to do it. But I'm not.
I like that
on
guy.
That.
Yeah, people that age don't take pay cuts.
No,
not at all. But listen, the story of the series is the way they shut down Durant and Kyrie. Because even in Game 3, when you get a big performance from Bruce Brown, you got a big performance from what? From Dragic in Game 2. You got a big performance from Seth Curry in this one. He finally got out of his slump here, and they're just going to take advantage of that because when your two best stars, when so much weight is on their shoulders, you can't have them scoring 16 and 16 and the way they did in Game 3. I mean, this Kevin Durant performance, this is what I thought would happen in Game 2, but the Celtics made him so uncomfortable that he couldn't even string together a 30-point game. You know what I mean? Like in 3 consecutive games. Like I've never seen a team prevent Kevin Durant the way that the way the Celtics did. Make him look so uncomfortable in the best of 7 series the way the Celtics did. You see it in 1 game or maybe 2 games throughout the course of a best of 7 series, but the Celtics did it 3 games in a row. And by the time he did put one together, put a solid performance together, it didn't matter because they were down 3-0, and just the identity of this team and the heart of it, which just wasn't there throughout the entire series, never mind when they're down, in a 3-0 hole.
And not only did they do it with their defense, Josue, they attacked those guys with their offense and made them guard. Yeah. And I thought that was Ime's. Ime said it a lot throughout the series that they were going to tire those guys out, make them guard, put them in actions, and they did. And that, I think, is a big reason Durant misses a free throw like that
and again,
in the game.
Though Durant had his
that
points.
That was big.
Durant got his points tonight, but we're still talking 13 of 31 from the field, 3 of 11 field 3-pointers. That he had a that's fine. You'll live with that performance from Durant. I don't care that he put up 39. 13 of 31, great.
Oh, sure.
You did your job. You had to take 31
job.
shots to get there. You did your job. And look, Ime talked about that before the game, saying, I think it was Sherrod who asked him, actually. He was asked, compared to your expectations to what's happening right now, how far apart are they? And he's like, hey, listen, I mean, I'm not quite sure if we all bet that Durant would have the kind of shooting performance that he's been having. But at the same time, you have to remember that when you're as rattled as you are, when you're as uncomfortable out there as you are, on top of playing how much defense he has to play on the opposite end, when you get those open shots or when you get those looks, those drives that you like, you're going to be a bit anxious, right? You're going to be a bit shaky. You're going to be, like he said, overthinking things because you're not used to that, right? Like when it did come somewhat easy, he wasn't used to it. And if it wasn't for Game 2 and those, 20 attempts from the free throw line, like his series average would be a lot, lower. But, that's just a testament to the Celtics defense, Yeah, it was chippy. Yeah, you're going to get your calls because of that physicality. But you take that. You take that all day because he was so uncomfortable with his shot selection. And the same thing, you can say the same thing about Kyrie.
And Josue.
Oh, this light is perfect, by the way.
Fitting that he gets snubbed in the Coach of the Year conversation. And we're in Brooklyn. So I'll quote Biggie. If you don't know, now you know.
Now you know. Yo, Bobby and I've been listening to
mic drop.
Not on purpose. Not on purpose. We've been listening to Biggie like throughout the entire weekend, man. You hear it everywhere.
I feel like I've been on this beat all year, John.
Great call,
I feel like
Bobby.
I feel like I've been covering the Ime beat. Like, I'm just so fixated on Ime. Other stuff's happening, and I'm just, like, staring at him. And I'm like, but this guy's great. I just love this guy as a coach. Like, I can't stop writing Ime stories. I voted for him for Coach of the Year. Like,
Ime, I made this drawing for you.
Yeah.
Email, see you at the Red Lobster.
Bobby, didn't you write something for Nia Long too about Ime's season or not?
Maybe.
No, it's amazing. Bobby, I mean, we're both there.
And I was the Brad guy. I love Brad. I never want to see him go.
So again, what's so funny was like, the big anti-Brad, get rid of Brad is, who are they going to get that's better? And the philosophy back then was, we don't know. You just know when it's not working, it's not working. So you got to try something else.
You need a new voice, right?
But Ime was better.
You don't dump your girlfriend only if you have one lined up.
Right. You're just like, I hate this girl. Right.
I just need to start over.
So listen,
but that's why when things were wrong, people were worried that like, oh no, this is the breakup. I mean, this is the rebound. This is the rebound girl. Like the Ime might not be it. It was like, well, wait a minute.
Well,
this is 2 months into this after Brad was the head coach for 7 seasons. You know, like the majority of this team is used to Brad at this point. It was going to take some time, and obviously, you know.
Apology, Cam. Brad. For me, I didn't want Brad fired, but
true. Yeah,
it was the move that set all this up. What impact could this coaching change have? All of the change in the world. I can't believe
I'm glad someone finally apologized.
I love how we all just got super defensive. Like,
I was like,
who?
what? We were clamoring for it.
I'll give you guys that one.
We don't apologize
now.
for shit. What are you talking about, Bobby?
As we have our week off here, I'll be writing up the list of apologies that Jimmy and John own.
You're not gonna get John to bite on any apology.
John, you gotta apologize for the Nets one. Come on.
Explain to me why.
Because you were railing for weeks. Horrible mistake to not dodge this team. This is going to be brutal. These guys are loaded.
As I said at the top of the show, and I'll say it again, and then tomorrow, and then the day after, this is the only team the Celtics played in the first round that had a chance of beating them.
Are you sure? Look at Toronto now.
Wait,
no.
But also,
sorry, no.
You don't think Toronto would have done better than that?
Only team that had a chance of beating the Celtics, I thought, was Brooklyn. I still think it. I think
the
other
Celtics
teams
would have swept them out there.
It doesn't matter. The only team I think could have beat them. The only team. There's nothing I've seen from the other teams. Toronto was down 3-0. Toronto was down 3-0 to Philly until their best player ripped it. His thumb came off. These teams were garbage. Chicago just lost by 30 to the Bucks without Middleton. Okay. Yeah.
Chicago, I agree. Toronto, we were picking Toronto or Brooklyn though.
Forget about it.
It was Toronto.
Yeah, but didn't you have a Rob clause in there somewhere? Like if Rob didn't come back at all, or something like that?
He did.
Yeah.
This is the part that
that didn't work either.
He came back in game 3, so
he did too much. John's prediction, he did too much. He wrote 1,000 words, and in it, he said the Celtics are going to be down 2-1.
John predicted Celtics in 6. Jimmy predicted Celtics in 7.
Oh, apologize, Jimmy.
That's true.
But I didn't need Rob to come back and save the day like John thought he was going to do. Rob really didn't have much.
Yeah, you had a very coached answer, John, and it didn't work because Rob didn't save the series.
Guys, it's friggin' being theatrical, okay? We're just trying to have some fun here.
We can't have one apology, Cam, John. Come on.
No.
To quote Jay-Z, it's only entertainment. It's only entertainment.
Here we go. More New York rap.
All right.
Oh my God.
Way to wrap it.
Yeah. No. We'll get. Don't worry, Bobby. You'll get John on an apology camp sometime. One of these years.
That's my
one
of
these seasons.
Yeah. There's only one, and you haven't hit it yet.
What's that?
Oh, there is one.
Oh yeah.
What is it?
The Rob? No, I thought the Rob thing.
If you don't get it before the time's up,
is it Romeo?
No.
If we don't get it, it's not worth mentioning.
You needed to apologize for Romeo months ago.
We're still fighting the Romeo thing. John wants to reverse the trade and bring him back, but we'll save that for his spaces during the week.
Romeo back. Oh, God. We
can't
can't have nuanced conversations.
We'll get to that conversation later.
We really
in the week.
can't. We
is
really
it Derek
can't.
White related?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Anyway, Bucks first thought, and we'll get into a deeper preview later. Worry meter, where are you on it? A confidence meter, where are you on it? Bobby, I know, is a little concerned.
I'm worried. I'm very worried.
Hold on.
Yeah, you got to be very worried facing the champs. And Jimmy disappeared,
Oh, I'm
so
ready.
I'm worried about him.
I'm
But
ready.
I'm also worried about the Bucks.
No, I'm confident.
You're facing Giannis. This guy, he's not going to stop. His motor isn't going to stop running until the double zeros hit that clock. And you might be able to beat him one night. Next night, he's coming back better. He's going to push the series to 6-7 games on his own effort. And he's
that's what I thought Durant was going to do. I was saying the same thing about Durant. I mean,
well, I'm one of the guys coming into the season who said Giannis is much better.
I'm only asking this question so Bobby will have to apologize when the Celtics win.
Yeah.
Well, I might still pick the Celtics because of the key vulnerabilities that Jimmy and I kicked around.
You have to pick the Celtics or else the chat will turn against you forever.
Yeah, you have
Bobby.
No.
And Milwaukee won't embrace you.
What I said to
Milwaukee
John,
won't embrace you the way Toronto did. All right, I don't think.
I have worries about the Bucks too. I have big worries about the Bucks.
What I said to John was it's just very difficult to pick against the Celtics right now based on the way they're playing. I don't care.
And they have home court in this series too.
And they have home court. Yeah, huge. Might end up being huge in the end because the Bucks chose not to essentially have home court. So now
this could be the NBA Finals for Boston in round 2. This might be the toughest team they face. That's all I'm saying.
Well, the Bucks play. All right, so that's Wednesday night in Milwaukee. That's their game 5.
Yep.
And if they win that one, we can probably expect maybe a Sunday game 1 in Boston.
Yeah, we'll figure out the schedule. But what do you think of the team, Jimmy?
What I think of
the Bucks.
What I think of the Bucks? I mean, like you said, I mean they've been there, done that. They have the MVP caliber player in Giannis. They're a big team, so their size is a lot different than what Brooklyn just gave you. They're gonna be a tough out. I'm still gonna take the Celtics in the series. I'm probably just gonna keep going Celtics in 7 because
that's the coward's way out. Yeah.
Coward's way out. And hey, if I'm off a game or 2, what can I say?
Celtics in 7 is the most cowardly prediction because you're still going homer with the C's, but you're conceding that it's going to be difficult.
No, I could see the Celtics doing it in 6, maybe. I don't think I like the Celtics right now. I just think that they're playing
By the way,
hard on both sides of the ball, and I'm not going to pick against them until they prove me wrong.
When talking about theatrics, I almost wrote my entire preview that I ended up writing on CLNS Media with all the reasons the Nets was a bad decision and went Celtics in 5. Anyway, and then I added one to go to 6, but it was initially Celtics in 5. I was going to be like, it was stupid, it was wrong. They're the toughest team, X, Y, and Z, and blah, blah, blah.
You were smart to do all that.
Celtics still win in 5.
You were nervous about picking the Nets, and rightfully so. Yeah. What do you got on the Bucks, John?
I love the Bucks. I just like the team.
But they're boring.
Huh? I like the team. Look, you can't not love Giannis after last year. You can't question his will to.
I don't know how you think they're boring, Jimmy.
Last year they took it. Yeah, last year Giannis took. I used to think Giannis was like.
I did too.
No. You got me.
Oh, yeah.
You think Giannis is boring? I don't know if you think the Bucks are boring, right, Jimmy? I thought it was Giannis' style.
Yeah, it's more of a Giannis. It's more of a Giannis style thing. But last year,
I love Giannis.
Catapulted to the.
He changed everything last year. I love Drew. I love Drew Holiday. I just like them. You got good matchups everywhere in that series.
Yeah, I think that's what. I like the Celtics' chances against them, but it's going to be much tougher. And the reason why I think is because 3-point shooting I think is big with those guys. Obviously, that's what helps Giannis in one way, and that's what can kill the Celtics' defense in another. Right? I mean, if these guys get hot, I don't know what the story is with Chris Middleton, but I'm going to assume he's going to play at some point in this series, right? I mean, depending on how things go. So that's big, if you're the Celtics, having Rob back is also big. And I love the fact that he's got a couple games under his belt heading into the series, plus probably 5 days rest along with practice. So that bodes well for the Celtics' chances. So I like their chances in this one, but the only difference is between defending superstars is I don't think you're going to get the kind of lackluster performances from Giannis that we just saw from Durant. His style of play, the way he goes about his business, it just doesn't, you look at the way they shut down Durant, I just think this is just a different beast in the sense of how he attacks the rim and The reason why, obviously his strength and his skill set, but also because he has those shooters. He has those
great role
support.
guys. Yeah.
And then you got Drew Holiday getting it done on both ends. So
I think
that's the kind of player. That's the kind of player that that the Celtics didn't see in this series. That's a huge upgrade to compared to someone like Bruce Brown. So the Celtics will have their hands full. But I like the chances. I really do. I think the team that sticks out the most for me is Miami. But we'll cross that bridge, if the Celtics get there. But yeah, I think that's the team that's in terms of depth and overall strength and numbers. I think that's a tougher opponent for the Celtics compared to Milwaukee.
I like their chances, but be concerned. Like, I see a lot of flag waving in my mentions and in this chat here. Oh, they're gonna breeze through the Bucks. It's gonna be really hard.
Why are you so pessimistic, Bobby?
They played the Bucks very well this season too.
Yeah,
they played them well.
This year.
But they've always played them well, and they've
Bobby,
lost a lot of games.
Bobby, are you a fan or what?
Yeah, you fraud.
I'm a fan of Giannis. I really am.
He's a fraud, everybody.
I love
Got a
Giannis.
Giannis jersey on under that jacket.
Milwaukee will be loving me next. I'll be getting beers thrown at me when I head up there. But
you guys are
no, I am leaning Celtics right now. I think we can all save our picks. We'll have plenty of time to make them. But the Middleton injury.
I'm waiting till the last second. Yeah.
The Middleton injury changes everything. And not only that, I've been watching the Bucks a lot this year, and they are a little vulnerable in a couple different areas. But we'll get into that when we start previewing them.
All right. Good stuff. We're going to wrap it. Thanks, guys, for hanging through a very short series.
Everyone has a week to get their hard hats. If you don't have a hard hat yet, I don't know what you're waiting for.
Was this a perfect 4-for-4 hard hat series for you, Jimmy?
Perfect 4-for-4.
You wore it every game, right?
Oh, it's like the bucket hat in Vegas.
I will be wearing this hard hat in every post-game show after a win. You don't deserve the hard hat after a loss because you didn't come to work. You didn't work hard enough. But this is the coming to work, hard hat on, lunch pail ready, steel toe boots tied, reflective vest on, coming to work, putting in the time. And I'll be honest, this is actually a legit hard hat. This is what do they say here? Certified model. So this actually would work on a construction site.
Yeah.
Not to brag or anything, but just if anyone thinks I'm a poser, this is a legitimate hard hat. So.
Hard hat it is. So thank you guys for hanging through the series throughout the season, of course. But great. 4 down, 12 to go. We hope to keep it rolling throughout the rest of this, through multiple series, and we'll be here. We're not going anywhere. Bobby Manning will be, and Josue, and then Sherrod obviously will be covering games in person, home and away. Celtics will be back practicing, and we'll have some news on the team. So make sure you check out clnsmedia.com and our YouTube channels. And if you're on it right now and you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Both our men's channel and the Celtics All Access channel, where you can get a lot of our daily content, Bobby Manning's reports, and a bunch of other stuff that's around a lot of our Celtics podcasts on the CLNS Media Network. One last shout out to our sponsor, HelloFresh. HelloFresh. Banner 16. We're coming for you.
HelloFresh.com/banner16 for 16 meals, guys. That's why we're going banner 16 here. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Also,
1986.
The 86 banner. That was a good one. That was a great one.
That was a good one.
So I hear.
That was a good one.
Where I was born, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Phone died.
Hi, Josue.
Yeah, about it.
There we go. Charged up.
Look how shiny he looks.
Charged up. Let's go.
We got some work to do.
Just
Okay,
in time
good.
for the good.
Just in
vibe.
time for the good. But please support our sponsors, guys. This is really a great one. This is really, really good stuff. Meals delivered to your door, anything you want, fresh ingredients, lots to choose from. HelloFresh.com/banner16. Use the code banner16, up to 16 free meals. Honestly, this is a ridiculous deal. If you've ever thought about doing one of these meals, if you've ever thought about doing one of these meal plans, go check this out. This is really worth it. So please do
16
so.
16 meals. And if you're John, that's like 3 days worth of meals.
I told Bobby that's a week's worth, no?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go have my 11th meal tonight as soon as we're done.
Yeah, John, it's about time for your feeding.
So we are going to wrap it up. Thanks again for hanging out with us. For Josue, Bobby Manning, Jimmy Toscano, I am John Zannis. Celtics beat the Nets
On to round
116-112, sweep the series.
Good
4
riddance.
games to none.
I hate that team.
Come on, we loved everything about it.
Yeah.
You love the storylines. You
Yeah.
love
Yep,
Kyrie.
and now they're gone.
You love
Brooklyn
Kyrie.
hot.
You love Simmons, the Nash
big.
stuff. What else
take
would
all
have
that.
packed up this much entertainment into it, you know? And a trip to New York. Good stuff for everybody. You guys, everybody won. Everybody wins
A little
here.
New York pizza tonight for the boys. What do you guys get? A little Brooklyn slice?
Oh, let's do it, Josue. I'm hungry. A good idea,
Yeah, I'm
Jimmy.
down. That's probably the
Okay.
only thing open right now. Let's go.
All right,
All
let's
right,
go.
you guys go
Outta
get
here.
some. We'll talk to you
Shout
guys
out
later.
Pally's in Brooklyn. That's the spot.
Night, guys.